All right, everybody, I'm working on this Jeep Cherokee. It's late. I've been working all day. I'm dirty. I'm sweaty. I don't want to be out here. And I really don't want to delay it by adding a video shoot into this. But you need to see this because this job, rear brakes on a Jeep Cherokee, could be a little bit daunting if you're the average DIYer, and it's really not. It's actually really simple, but there's just a few little tips, and you just kind of need to know what you're going to encounter and be ready for it. So you just want to be prepared for it. So I'm going to put a detailed tool list at the end here, but I'm already partway through. I've got the other side done, and I just really felt like I needed to shoot this because it's going to help somebody out. So anyways, what I've already done here, obviously I've kind of pieced it back together, as you can see, because I've already got the rotor swapped out, but this is a 5mm Allen hex bit. So that's all you need to do to unbolt the rotor and swap that out. Then we've got the caliper. So the reason that this could be daunting is because this has electric parking brakes on it. So those need to get reset. And we're not going to use a scan tool or anything. This is super DIY friendly. But the most important thing right off the bat here, and there's different ways you can do this, but I think the safest way to do this is just disconnect the battery and then nothing's going to be happening. So you want to make sure that your parking brake is not on. So that's free. And we've got the battery disconnected. We've got it up in the air and we do not need to touch anything now. Another way would be to unplug the harness, but I just think absolutely the safest way to do this is just disconnect the battery. So now the next step, presuming you haven't changed your rotor yet, there again, this is sort of in the middle of what I've been doing here, but the next step is to take this caliper off. All right, so here we go. We got a swivel 10 mil on an impact, 17 mil right there. Zip that out. Next thing on our list is these two caliper bracket bolts. We can see one in the shot here, the other one we can't, but it's down below. Got a T55 Torx bit on a swivel on a 12-inch extension on a 1/2-inch impact. And if I can do this, this is going to be difficult to shoot. It's going to look like I don't know what I'm doing. These are already loose. I did break them free with this, piece them back together to shoot the video. So we can zip that one off. Even less trouble if you don't have a camera and a light in the way. We'll zip those out of there. Now our caliper's ready to come off. So now we can just grab this whole caliper assembly and pull it right off of here. Now, once we get this free, we're actually able to split the bracket and the caliper because we took this bolt out here. We're gonna swing this up and we're gonna slide that upper pin right out of there. No reason to do anything else. And because we took the lower one out, we could pivot the pads out and do that. So that is the easiest way to do that. We'll set the bracket aside. We'll hang this over like that. Now I'm gonna move on to the bracket and we'll get that all set up. Okay, so here we have this. Haven't really done anything with it yet. I guess right off the bat, these slides are working pretty good, but we're gonna pop this one out. I like this Permatex brake parts lubricant. It's purple. This bottle's about gone, so I've cut the top off. We're gonna give this a nice coat. We'll give the other slide that's on the caliper a nice coat, but not till we're done, because otherwise I'll put my hand in it like 15 times. We'll slide that back in. Look at that. I'm already all full of it. So now we're gonna get the new pads put in. So this has some interesting hardware on it. Customer supplied these pads and rotors, and sometimes they come with hardware. These didn't. I don't know what brand they even are. I'll put a link in the description for some power stop stuff. I really like that stuff. So you can see here, we pulled this out. We got to get the matching pad here. And there's these kind of goofy little spring things, and you can sneak the pad in there and it freely moves. If it didn't, I would actually file or grind down the edges of the pad until it did freely move. But these do, or that one did anyway, so we're good to go with that. We'll sneak this one out. Same deal, we're gonna match that up. Sneak the new one in. And it seems to move around pretty freely, so we're good with that. So the bracket is ready to be reinstalled. Now we're gonna move our attention back to the caliper, and that's really what you came here to see. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take this ebrake assembly off, just the electric part of it. And I'm doing that with a T30 on a little impact here. These sometimes get a little corroded, that one is. Sometimes they kind of fight you on the way out. Now we're gonna try and pull this off, and there's a rubber O-ring in there that just kind of hangs on a little bit. So it's a little bit of a fight, but there we go, not too bad. And it'll be nice and clean inside. So we'll set aside that motor, and here's what we were after. Now this can be done with a scanner. Sometimes there's certain procedures you can go through in the vehicle to put it into a service mode, but this is probably the most reliable, quickest way of doing this when it really comes down to it. I'm gonna grab a little T45 bit, just like my other bit. There again, I'll put a link in the description for the tools I'm using. And we're gonna insert this right into there, and we're gonna turn it clockwise until we can't turn it anymore. And you can just do this by hand, as you can see. In fact, I would not recommend putting a tool on it. Just spin it by hand, and there. We've bottomed it out. So if you want a little bit of a description on this, what's happening is that threaded rod is getting run by this motor, and electrically it's told to, and it'll spin counterclockwise, and it'll run a plunger down that will clamp this piston down on your pads and your rotor. So, and when they're not electric parking brakes, it's the same system. This just happens to be electrically actuated. So on the other style that's not electric, there's still the threaded rod in there, but it gradually works its way out, and you need to twist the caliper piston as you compress it. This is actually in some ways easier, because all we had to do is manually extract it, bottom it back out again, and now we can put a clamp on this and compress this piston all the way back and make room for our new pads. So now I'm just gonna grab my C-clamp, put it right on here, and if you can see, we're just gonna clamp that piston. I need another hand here. Just gonna clamp that all the way back. And now we're good to go with that. So then, before I put this motor back on here, I'm actually, because it kind of fought us on the way out, same thing I did on the other side, I'm gonna put a little bit of lubricant on this O-ring right here so that it goes on smooth. So I'm just gonna use some JB80. I'm gonna spray a little bit on my finger here, and I'm gonna run that right around on this O-ring. Since this whole housing is plastic, we wanna treat it a little bit delicately. So we got some JB80 on there. We'll grab the assembly. We'll line it up here. And with any luck, look at that. That was absolutely the way to go. That just popped right on there. No gap. Then we can grab our screws here. Make sure we got it clocked right. And then for tightening these back down, because it is plastic, we're gonna go to just doing it manually, although I should probably grab the bit. That will work a little bit better. We'll alternate to pull it down evenly. All right, now we'll just snug those things down. Okay, so now we've got this all reset. We've got the piston all pressed in there, so we're ready to put the new pads in. The next thing we're gonna do is lube up the slide, get it all the way around there. And then it's critical that you install the bracket back onto the caliper and then put it onto the spindle. If you don't do that, you will not be able to slide the caliper onto the bracket. We're gonna grab the caliper. We're gonna slide on that upper slide. We're gonna swing this down. We're gonna press that just far enough to go in there. If I had the bolt handy, I'd put that in right now. Now we can swing this around and slide it right on here. Then I'm gonna grab my caliper bracket bolts We'll get it lined up and get these started. Normally I try to be really good about torque specs. That's not going to happen in this video. I'm just going to put the impact back on these, tighten them down. You saw how I took them apart. I'm going to go from the back, hit it again. Not going to move the camera. Get our 10 mil in here. 17 mil. And there you have it. This is all ready to go. So I can put the wheels back on. I can drop this thing down. I can reconnect the battery and we're good to go.